Die Welt steht vor so großen Herausforderungen wie nie zuvor. Wir begeben uns deshalb auf eine Mission. Wir ergreifen gemeinsam die Initiative. Wir versammeln die besten erfahrenen und jungen Köpfe. Wir vernetzen engagierte Unternehmen und Unternehmer mit den besten Studierenden und Talenten. Wir entwickeln in 3 Jahren wegweisende Projekte für eine nachhaltige Zukunft. Wir beschreiten gemeinsam neue Wege, setzen wichtige Impulse für die Zukunft und legen die Basis für den großen Wurf. Wir nehmen 12 Zukunftsfelder ins Visier und entwickeln Prototypen unserer Visionen. Unser Fundament sind dabei die 5 Kernwerte der Wertestiftung: Verantwortung, Vertrauen, Integrität, Respekt und Leistung. Wir geben den Themen, den neuen Ideen und klügsten Köpfen eine Plattform, damit wir wirklich etwas bewegen. The Mission.
Welcome everyone to our final pitch event from the Mission 7 Transformation Be Sustainable. I'm more than delighted to guide you through the event today. I'm Jannis Rüttemeier, Program Director for the Mission at Futury. But before we basically come to an end with this program today, we will look at the final pitches of the teams and really see how they've developed their ideas over the time. The Mission Transformation Be Sustainable, we've heard it in the summit event before. Organizations need to transform, and this is what our goal basically was. We wanted to develop new solutions that help organizations overall for the cross-cutting topic of sustainable transformation and helping them really transform towards a more sustainable future. And for this, I have to thank all the corporate partners that participated and made this basically happen. What we will do today, we will have a look at the panel discussion and look at the trends of sustainable investing. We've heard this also in the last panel discussion in the summit, but we will deep dive here today as well, because what we basically do here is building new, innovative and sustainable startups. And not only larger organizations need to have investments for this transformation, but also smaller startups. So a very important topic, and we see and look what this trend of sustainable investing is. And after that, we will obviously also take a look at the pitches and see really what the teams have developed over the last 3 months, intensive working time, and what they've come up with today. So this is basically the heart of what we will do today. 3 pitches, and then we will quickly look at some next steps on how the mission is proceeding, and this will be around 1 hour. Again, thank you very much to all the corporate partners. First of all, obviously, the initiators, Deutsche Bank, Bain & Company, PreZero and Handelsblatt, where we are today in the studio. Thank you very much. You made this possible, but also all the other corporate partners joining for particular this mission. Procter & Gamble, Kaufland, ESMT Berlin, Brightpoint, High Technologies, and also our Futury capital company that have joined and supported the teams over the last 3 months. You also made this possible. But of course, our teams who are in the focus today, you made this possible as well. Team Inspiration with Oriana, Paula and Selina. Team Education with Florent, Verena and Matthias. And Team Activation with Julius, Donatus and Zoran. I think you've developed 3 great solutions that you will present us today. So looking back at the program, we started in September, mid of September, with the onboarding week. We have had great 3 months working together with you and the corporates. We looked at problem statements. We looked at customer insights to really understand the customers and their needs. We developed solutions together. We looked then also at the market and tried to define what's out there, what does the market need, is there a market demand, and also obviously looked at competition, what's already out there. And really from the interim pitch on, we focused a lot on the business model development, but also the further prototyping, building more sophisticated prototypes, that we will hopefully see today here in this pitch. So the mission is coming to an end today, but I think it was 3 great months. Looking back at the kickoff pitch, I think everyone remembers here from the mission family. A lot of you were there at the App Symposium where we kicked off the program. We were here at the interim pitch, also in this very studio, with the teams at the Handelsblatt, and also this great working mode where we thankfully were able to come together also and not only do it remotely due to the corona situation. So we had some great and fun times over the time with workshops, with working sessions, but also some fun private events. But before we go into the pitches, let's take a look at the panel discussion. And I hope all the panelists are in already, because we want to take a look at, yes, everyone is there, I can see you. I want to welcome Maren from Brightpoint. I want to welcome Michael from Futury Capital and Till from High, who are more than happy to discuss with me today about the topic of sustainable investing. And maybe I want to get an opinion from all of you first before we deep dive. Starting with Maren, what's your opinion on it? Why is sustainable investing more urgent than ever? We've heard it in the summit before, some opinions on this, but I want to hear it from you. What's your opinion on it? Why is it so important right now?
Yeah, it's so for me, especially as a founder, it's so important because at all and foremost, of course, as a founder, I share the responsibility to guide our company acting in a most responsible and most conscious way in the society that an environment that we are working and living in all together. And from, let's say, from the view of a company, of a CEO, it's so important because there's one main reason that, for instance, drives me, besides the ecological aspect, that is the war for talents. Employees that join now have a complete different mindset. They have complete different values, expectations than 5 to 10 years ago. And young talents that join our firms, for instance, at the moment are more positive, idealistic. They are looking for a purpose in their job. So being sustainable as a company is, for me, a good chance to win the war for talents. And secondly, ESG risk is a capital risk or an investment risk. So if I don't consider inherent ESG risk in my daily doing in a company, I lose access to the capital markets. So that's why it's so important.
Thank you very much. You mentioned already this topic of war for talents on the one hand, and briefly discussed on this risk factor. So maybe handing over to Michael, you as an investment firm, what's your take on this? Why is this topic so important for you?
I believe so. As good morning. Thank you for having me here. For me, I think there's no alternative. We have to focus on sustainable investment. From a global perspective, we are facing a situation where we have a population growth worldwide. This has an enormous effect on the use of resources, food, energy, water, healthcare, education. So there's no way around to look at sustainability. From the investment perspective, what I see is that a huge market basically has evolved over the last decades. I have read a study recently that since 2012, I think every year the market doubled in the ESG investment space. So if you want to participate in a growth market, you have to be there. And thirdly, I think that's from investor perspective most important is that the habits have changed or are in the process of changing. The younger generation, millennials, but the younger generation would like to invest according to their values. We know that at each generation, between 70 and 80% of the wealth and the funds are reallocated. This means then, in the end, if you do not want to be out of the business, you have to listen to your investors, and they are clearly ESG driven.
Thank you very much, Michael. You also mentioned the younger generation. I'm looking now to Till, maybe from a consulting perspective, but also you as a, let's say, new generation. I also maybe consider still myself to this. What's your take on this?
Thanks, Yannick, Jannis, and good morning. I think the increasing urgency, I think it's clearly due to the accelerated climate change. And the carbon budget for the 1.5 scenario at current emission levels will be used up in around 7 years. So the carbon clock is really ticking fast. And I think there's an increasing consciousness among investors about the effects of their capital allocation. And then the corporates, our clients, they are feeling that pressure from consumers, from regulators, and from the capital markets. But they're also seeing the opportunity arising out of it. So this is why we are very much focused, on identifying new sustainable business models, and that's also the way I like to think about it.
Thanks a lot. And now maybe looking a little bit, we talked about sustainable, or we used the word sustainable investments now quite a lot. And I want to have like this little maybe educational session here for someone to take also something away who doesn't know so much about this topic. Michael, what do you think? Like, can you explain us a little bit the difference of the traditional investment style maybe and this trend of sustainable investing, so we all take this away today?
Yes, well, I would say that traditionally we always looked at two things. First is risk, second is return. So this is all about to look what will I get out of my investment, risk and return. Looking back past decades, I think the sustainable investment movement somehow started in the 80s, 90s. Real momentum we got in the past 5 to 10 years. What has changed there? As Maren already told us, so looking at risk is always important, and with a sustainability focus, we started under certain risk focus. So what we did, we excluded certain companies, certain sectors which we thought that would be risky, such as tobacco manufacturing or weapons manufacturing or gambling. So this is one side of the ESG, but in the past 5 to 10 years, things has changed. We are looking much more at a perspective from opportunities. So what investors now doing or are convinced, they see that there will be a great number of business models and companies and investment opportunities which clearly will profit from this movement towards a more sustainable world. And this has been changed, I think, the mindset of the investors.
Thanks a lot. And maybe taking the next step then, there are a lot of terminologies out there with regards to sustainable investing. Asking Till now, for example, if we look at ESG investing, what's a term, for example, or impact investing is also another term. Can you maybe give us some infos? What's the difference?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a great question because it's very important to differentiate. So I think you can think of ESG factors as risk factors, as Michael already put it. So they indicate the exposure to very industry-specific, environmental, social, or governance risks. So it's more like a downside protection. But it doesn't actually tell you if the company is contributing to, climate change mitigation or to the sustainable development goals. Whereas an impact investor would typically look for positive environmental and social returns alongside his financial returns. So it's much more positive way of thinking about sustainability.
And Maren, now deep diving a little bit further, you are with Brightpoint also a company helping investors, especially funds, as I understand it, to report on this. I mean, the one hand is to actually invest sustainably, and the other hand is how do I report this? And maybe there are different drivers for organizations to do this and to facilitate this reporting of sustainable investment. What do you see currently? Do you expect hard frameworks in the future and hard regulation from the government side on this? And what's your take on this?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, absolutely. I expect that. So in the past years, we have seen, let's say, good intentions from fund managers, but often it was not so much more than exactly that. Good intentions, non-binding, and people only move under pressure. So that's why we now see regulators, but not only regulators, also the institutional investors alike driving the adoption towards the Article 8 funds and the Article 9 funds, with, let's say, very high-level Article 8s being what Michael said, more focusing on.
Can you quickly explain that? Article 8, Article 9 funds, what's that?
Yeah, there's a Disclosure Act, and there are more articles. There's an Article 6 fund, so to say, but Article 8 funds are those funds that, let's say, that take into consideration ESG criteria to in their documentations, in their marketing documentations, but more towards what Michael said, more towards the risk assessments of the investments. Whereas Article 9 funds, so we often say Article 8 funds are more light green funds. At the moment, whereas Article 9 funds have a much higher burden. These are really impact funds that so-called also the dark green funds, if you say so, where you're really forced to report on to report and to disclose on hard facts, for instance, such as a gender pay gap, but also of course carbon emission footprints, etc. So very, very hard. So it's let's say a high risk also for fund managers at the moment to fulfill those reporting requirements of Article 9. That's why we see a lot of funds actually adapting to Article 8 at the moment, and very few at the moment to this hard dark green Article 9 funds Disclosure Act. Yeah. But that's what we also see is that there's a certain or uncertainty still in the market, and different interpretations of the definitions from the Act. So I really expect the regulators, for one. I expect the institutional government funds like KfW Capital or EEF and also the industry associations like in Germany BVK or Invest Europe for the European market to come up with a industry standard, more tight industry standard reporting.
All right, Michael, you're one of the investment managers Maren talked about, and you at Futury Capital, for example. What's your take on this? What's the focus of Futury Capital from a strategic investing point of view? Is it really a strategic factor, the sustainable investing? Where do you see yourself, or is it more like a hygiene factor to you?
Well, Futury Capital is an investment company which is currently managing two venture capital funds. One is a very early stage venture capital funds. That means that we are investing in really young companies, somehow between 0 and 3 to 5 years of its existence. Then we have a growth capital fund which invests in companies afterwards, for instance, helping them to internationalize on a global scale. When we invest, we look at the team, we look at the market, and we look at the product. We want to invest in great teams with a leadership, with a clear vision in high growth markets, with a very clear focus on a product or solution which marks the difference. And here comes in again the sustainability. We look for these, or we're searching for these products and solutions. So we are clearly on the road there. But as a venture capital fund, we were established 3 years ago, so we didn't file for this Article 8 or 9. So we do not have this, let's say, legal obligation. But of course, under the risk and opportunity perspective, we are looking at sustainable targets.
So you're saying a lot is changing there for you also in this process. How is that looking for you? I mean, I find this interesting. Can you give us 1 or 2 insights on how this change looks for you, just very practically in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, so these changes are twofold. First of all, in this year, 2021, we invested in 2 startups which have a clear ESG exposure. One is a software company with a software documenting the value chain and the impact of suppliers of a product which they have. That's the company C-Trace. The second company is the company Resider, which is clearly known as a member of the mission, of one of the first missions here, and they are having a software where you, as a B2B customer, can see what sort of your packaging of your product is you can recycle in each country. So there's a clear focus on ESG. What we also see is that within our portfolio companies, the strategy is being aligned towards more ESG. One example is our portfolio company Twarit, based in Frankfurt. What they are doing is also software for analyzing and predicting manufacturing processes in the metal manufacturing industry. When they did so, the key challenge what came up over the past 12 to 18 months is the request of the companies towards a zero waste manufacturing. So they are have aligned their strategy, and they say, it is possible for metal manufacturer to have a zero waste manufacturing, and with our software tool, we can accompany you towards this goal. So this is a clear change what we see in our practical work.
Thanks a lot. And now maybe looking at, with, for example, Resider, you mentioned a company being focused on this waste aspect, for example. But on the other hand, there is, I think, also a big trend within this climate tech area in the venture capital market, right? And Till, maybe, how do you see this? Is that... how can this basically help impact the climate transition if the venture capital market focuses on something like this?
Yeah, I think venture capital can be a key accelerator for the climate transition, and it definitely is already sometimes today. For new clean technologies or for digital business models in the very early stages. Many of these clean technologies are very R&D intensive, so they're sometimes a little bit unattractive for the average fund life cycle of VCs, but we see that more funds are committing to investing into climate tech. So I definitely think that they will play an essential role in, bringing the market and technologies we need to a larger scale.
Maren, now asking you on a broader scale, this topic of sustainable investing, what do you think, what impact will that in general have on the entire startup ecosystem that has been flourishing more and more also in Germany and Europe over the time? Will it change it fundamentally? What's your take on this?
Well, it will boost more impact startup, which is great. So there's a lot of capital for ESG and impact investment in the market at the moment. So responsible investment is mainstream, became even more traction and gained more momentum within the last 2 years of COVID. Michael already mentioned the growth rates of ESG investments being, what did you say, 50%? I would say more than 20% year over year for the last year, steadily growing. Yesterday I looked at Deal Room. Deal Room states now 70 European venture capital funds with an ESG impact or impact investment strategy focus. So Germany just yesterday or this week, Speed Invest, for instance, launched 80 million on climate tech fund. World Fund has been announced this year with 350 million. So there's really a lot of capital out in the market at the moment, and access to for impact startups to capital is good. The companies now, the startups now, but need to have their ESG data set and they have a good financial modeling on hand to go to positive due diligence.
Thanks a lot. I would have a lot of many more questions to you, but we have to continue. One last thing, though. I want a wish from each of you, if towards startups, towards the sector, towards investors. It doesn't really matter. What would be your wish? Maybe starting, with you, Maren, again for the industry there.
My wish for the industry, my wish is really that we see more startups in this area, in this space evolving. So I just recently read the post that Larry Fink, the BlackRock CEO, said he's expecting what she said, the next 1,000 unicorns being from climate tech. I think this is a really, really promising statement for all the teams out there that are evaluating new models and starting an impact business today. So go for it.
Great shout out or call for action, sorry. Michael, what's your take?
I think we should start with ourselves. First of all, what we tell young startup companies and what we are also in the process is establishing an own ESG strategy for ourselves. So for our company and for the startups, knowing that they are small companies, not imposing too much, but at least to ask them, what is your strategy and what is your certain impact in certain categories. Second, these categories have to be measured, and there is the real issue. And I think Deutsche Bank has already mentioned that in the previous stream. We need a clear standardization of this measurement, of these frameworks, of these metrics, and I'm optimistic. There are a number of initiatives underway which have the clear goal to have some sort of standardization, because that's the only thing what then investors have to compare one investment with the other. So start with ourselves and standardize the framework. This is my wish.
Thanks. And Till, last but not least.
I agree with Michael. I think we need more transparency from corporates on sustainability engagement, and maybe looking at founders. I think you have to be bold. We need to make huge steps to get to net zero. So if you're a founder, then just be very bold, and I think that's what we need.
Great, and maybe I even have a wish as well. I think there are a lot of, we talked about a lot of measures, a lot of things that need to change still, or that still need to change basically to make this impactful. I would hope that all these measures at the end really lead to the fact that money is allocated at the right place where it has the most impact, and hopefully even this will be with one of our startup teams today. So let's look at the pitches and see what they've come up with, starting with Team Inspiration. Team Inspiration is called Sustainacy, and we will have remotely pitching with us Selina. And Selina, thank you very much for being here. You are basically tackling this topic of engaging employees and also assessing them, employees and their opinion, and helping them helping them to participate in the measurement finding process of organizations to become more sustainable. So I'm more than happy to have you here remotely with me, and all the best to your pitch. I hope you can see the slides already.
Not yet, but maybe in a second. No, I can. Yeah,
Great.
Thank you very much also thank you very much for this introduction, and a warm welcome also from my side. I'm going to present you Sustainacy today. And we at Sustainacy, we are convinced that if people are emotionally invested and they feel that their needs and desires are taken into account, they are more engaged and they want to make a contribution. And the good news is now that many employees are already emotionally invested in the topic of sustainability. They want to behave more sustainable and they want to be part of the whole transformation process. However, the bad news is that this is not what we can always observe, because there are some obstacles and barriers that hinder them from doing so. So the question should be, what are these obstacles and what can we do to overcome them? And let me tell you that the first thing you need is to have an assessment of the status quo, because there's no one solution fits them all. Rather, each company has individual structures, faces different challenges, and of course you also have unique employees that again face different barriers and have different needs and desires. However, with a good data assessment, you can understand, predict, and through tailored interventions also influence individual behavior and decisions in a positive way, of course. So in other words, you can bridge the gap between ambition and action. And this is why we created Sustainacy. We acknowledge the uniqueness of each company and we want to provide clarity through a holistic approach. So let us explain you how we want to do that by showing you an example of a user journey of a CSO that uses our tool to co-create sustainability together with our employees.
If you followed our progress, by now you might be well acquainted with Maria and her problems. Maria, as the CSO of a company, wants to implement sustainable commuting policies. And in order to assess employees' attitudes towards those policies and the impact that they might have once implemented, Maria trusts Sustainacy. So let's follow her journey of assessing, measuring, and choosing the best commuting policy corresponding to her company needs and uniqueness. On the Sustainacy platform, she selects the topic of employee commuting, thus generating a customized survey link that will be distributed and filled out by the employees. The survey will measure employee attitudes based on 4 dimensions: the current behavior, motivations and barriers, employee behavioral change to the potential policy implemented, as well as future predictions. Once the results are in and the recommendations are generated, Maria will be notified to access the platform and get the recommendations. Sustainacy generates 3 recommendations that she can prioritize based on her needs. Maria prioritizes employee willingness to adopt, and the recommendation with the highest percentage is e-charging station. We have made it our mission to facilitate her decision-making and in the process save her time, costs, and efforts by incorporating a Sustainacy supplier recommendations feature. In order to get more insights, Maria goes into the section providing her data with regards to the survey, implementation costs on each of the recommendations, as well as external ecosystem data, and more specifically, regulatory insights, technology readiness, and industry trends. And once the policy is implemented, she can also track the progress and report it. Here, Maria can see her carbon reduction predictions based on the policy she implemented, as well as the targets she has set for the company. We want, as always, to facilitate Maria's tasks. Thus, we support her by providing the total number of CO2 emissions generated by employee commuting. This is measured according to the transport emissions model by the German Environment Agency. And lastly, but not least, we measure employee satisfaction with regards to the policy, in this case, e-charging station. As an added bonus, we provide data so that Maria can see how she is faring compared to her competition.
So to sum up, we offer a variety of ESG topics for which we provide customized employee surveys to get tailored insights and actionable recommendations. And to also keep an eye on what's going on, we are going to provide tracking and reporting. So what makes our tool so special? Despite being a carbon assessment tool, we acknowledge that sustainability is much more than just the environmental topic, which is why, in addition to environmental topics, we are also looking into the social and governance aspects. And as we acknowledge that the transformation can only happen collectively, we are a pioneer in combining employee with market data. And last but not least, to really make this transition from ambition to action as easy as possible, we are going to guide you in the implementation process as well. So let's have a look at the market for such a tool. We are going to focus on the service sector because of its human capital intensiveness. And we are mainly looking into companies with over 50 employees, since with an increasing number of employees, also the complexity increases, creating a need for such a tool. And then we're confident that by the year of 2030, we're going to have over 1,200 companies on board. And we want to do so by, of course, continuing cooperating with our corporate partners. But we also want to directly contact companies that have a need for such a tool. And beyond, we want to participate in sustainability events and provide workshops and case studies. And as we acknowledge that each company might be on a different step of their transformation journey, we also provide different packages. So if you want first to test some of the topics, for example, some of the environmental topics only, then we highly recommend you the Discover package. However, if, like in the case of Maria, you already put some thought into sustainability and you really want to tackle it now from different areas, then the Act package is the best fit for you, because here you have access to the full range of survey topics and you will get in-depth insights. And last but not least, if you need a more consultancy, so even more customized approach, then the Master package is best for you. And unfortunately, this Mission 7 is now coming to an end, but we're eager to continue afterwards. And as we showed in our prototype, we have already developed our commuting survey, and we are happy that many corporate partners are on board to then pilot the survey so we can further refine it and have our first MVP released latest by next summer. And in the meantime, but also afterwards, we want to continue to develop the other topics as well, such that by summer of 2023, we will have a market-ready product. And of course, behind a great solution is a great team. So by now you should know my dearest colleagues, Ariana and Paula, which have made this last months very special. So shout out to them at this point. And to finish my presentation, I would like to say that if you're interested in making employee contribution not only possible, but really efficient, then we are looking forward to your engagement in the next months and beyond. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to the feedback now.
Very well done. I think major steps, period. You've done such great progress over the time. And to see what the corporate partners think that you've worked closely together with over the time. Hopefully we have them online already with us. I want to welcome Maren Eckloff-Boehme. She was there in the first panel, so you should remember her from Brightpoint. We also have Bettina Ortina Fröner from P&G, Senior Sales Director, and Anna Frankenberg. We also had you in the interim pitch here on the panel, so hopefully most of us should know you as well. Maybe starting with Maren, what's your feedback to the team? We can't hear you.
Congratulations. No. You can hear me, right? Yeah?
Yes, we can. Sorry.
Very well done presentation. As Janis mentioned, a huge step. If I go through the points, so is the product or problem relevant? Absolutely relevant, as I stated in the previous roundtable. Is I think employee engagement, increasing employee engagement is really a relevant problem for a lot of companies. This is the one of the most feasible ways to act and implement the ESG strategy on a broad basis, but also thinking further let's say only implementing an ESG strategy, thinking further towards employee loyalty with the company, employee retention rate with the company, all issues that I mentioned that comes with what I mentioned before, the war of talent. So I think it's very relevant. The solution is makes a lot of sense to me. I like the reporting tool. This is very important to have for the stakeholders to report internally on the progress and also your roadmap. I would say summer, it may be realistic, but summer 23. So if you would be ready with a viable product before that, I would be really happy to go that journey with you. I think with respect to scalability, it pays more into let's say the company inside. So it pays more into a higher cost reduction or a higher let's say higher profitability for the company itself. So I would be interested to hear and see whether they are thinking beyond that, whether this can be developed as a platform as well to think in new revenue streams, for instance. That's the question I have in my head, whether this can be extended not only to pay into for more profitability of the company, but also to pay in to open up for new revenue streams.
Thanks a lot, Maren, and maybe handing over to Tina. What's your feedback? Maren gave very great feedback, I think, already, and maybe also some suggestions for the future. What's your take on the team and the solution?
Yeah, I think it's quite similar. So I don't want to repeat things. I also think a lot of progress has been made. I really like the specific recommendations this tool gives, because I think otherwise it will not be very actionable for the companies. I also think it's really great how it enables transparency towards the employees, because I think that's something that is essential to drive a real transformation in the companies. So driving change top down on sustainability issues, I think, will not work, because this tool aims at driving behavioral change as well. So I think this transparency that it enables, both on the carbon footprint impact, but also on the cost side, I mean, that's also something that's interesting to employees, because everybody wants their company to be profitable, because at the end that saves our jobs. I think that's really great. I like the visualization, and I know that you've been in talks with our HR department, and they're very happy to support you in fine-tuning the questionnaire, because I think that will be the main challenge, striking a balance between a solution that really fits the customer but is scalable at the same time. So I think that's something you will find out working with different partners, how to strike that balance, because you cannot make it 100% tailor-made, because then you won't be able to scale it, but it still needs to be relevant. And the employees, again, need to feel it's for them. So I think that will be very interesting to see, and I'll be happy to help you on that journey, and support you with collecting that data and seeing how it works with real employees and larger groups of customers.
Great, thank you very much. So, Selina, as you heard, you might have here the first partner or the second partner, I don't know, for your continuous journey. And last but not least, Anna, you are probably one of or actually the persona that they used within their pitch as the CSR manager for Pre-Zero. What's your take? Would you buy this? What's your feedback to the team?
The team already knows that I really like their ambitions and the transformation that they already made with the project. And I think it's a great contribution to the company, but also to the employees. So it's a win-win situation. On the one hand, they can motivate the future employees and the other employees to be more intrinsically motivated because their company contributes also to sustainable transformation. And I think they really touched this point and activated with their survey. And I don't want to repeat everything that my colleagues already said, but it's a very good approach. It touches people really emotionally because they combine, on the one hand, what is linked to the company, and on the other hand, what is linked to the environment. And so they can touch points and bring more transparency into the company. And in the end, it will be more or less about the scalability. As mentioned before, this is something that they need to work on in the next steps, but I think they are in good hands also with my colleagues, and we also like to contribute whatever is possible from our side.
Thanks a lot. So we've heard the term scalability. Again, Selina, I want to quickly give you the possibility to react to this, I think, great feedback. What do you want to tell your potential future partners if you hear this?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for the feedback and the kind words. And we are also thought about the scalability. And as we showed you earlier, we have different topics that we want to develop step by step. But also, I think the great thing about this tool is that it still could be scalable afterwards. So right now, we want to focus to really become more clear on the different topics and to perfectionize that. But in the end, I think there's still a huge potential also for scaling this product, this tool.
Thank you very much, Selina. Thank you very much, Team Inspiration or Sustainacy. And thank you very much, Maren, Tina, and Anna, for your great feedback. Now, what we will do is we will come to our next team, Team Education, tackling this topic of how do we transform an organization by actually upskilling and educating employees on the topic of sustainability. And for this, we will have Matthias presenting also remotely for Team ResolVert. Over to you and good luck, Matthias. I hope you have the slides or you can see the slides.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Great. Then over to you. Yeah, the stage is yours.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. Great to be here. I'm very honored to have the chance to present you our product. And we are ResolVert, and we create sustainable change for companies from the inside out. That means we offer company-tailored sustainability trainings for every employee to boost your sustainability transformation. And engaging every employee, especially on CSR topics, feels sometimes like that you're sitting in a boat. Just a few of you are rowing like crazy and you're not really moving forward. And you may have had that feeling too. However, the only thing that is often missing for the others on the boat is just the pedal. And the pedal in our case are sustainability trainings in order to succeed in your sustainability transformation. And this is also what we have identified. We did more than 20 industry experts with more than 5 different companies. And we have seen here that there's a huge need for sustainability trainings and also a huge need to transform this knowledge to every employee. And most important, we have seen that they are not able to provide this sufficiently. Therefore, and second, we also have seen at the employee level that the current training options are not really engaging, they're not fun, they're time consuming, and they're often disconnected from their work life and their work surrounding. So this is why we created an e-learning platform with company customized sustainability trainings for every employee of all levels. And since we know the constraints of the training for the employees, we made our trainings accessible, engaging, short, and we also cover all the relevant topics for our company. And our e-learning platform is a web app, which you can access by your computer, but also with your mobile phone, for example. Now, how do you learn with us? First of all, imagine your first meeting of the day was canceled. So you just have a little bit of time and the next meeting is soon. However, you want to make the best out of the time. This is the best opportunity to quickly do one of our trainings. So when you open up our tool and log into your account, you will be guided to the landing page. And from the top of the page, you can select the training you just want. And as you can see, it takes only 7 minutes, and therefore you're even more motivated to do it. Even better, you would have still enough time to prepare the next meeting. And before you start the training, it's important to know that you will go through 3 different stages, which are the first one, awareness, second is the knowledge, and third one is the contextualization. Having said this, let's start the learning journey. And the topic of today is circular economy. As just stated, the first stage is all about awareness. And hey, this question sounds interesting. How would you feel if you would live in Germany where, for example, farmers losing livelihoods, people die, and where it actually has been dry for years? So I would personally feel pretty sad about it. And what if I tell you that this is already happening in Germany 2021? It's surprising, isn't it? And we want to make you feel here why it is important for you, the topic. And therefore, we focus here more on emotions instead of knowledge to gain your trust and make it relevant for you. At the same time, with guessing questions, we emphasize the urgency of the subject and keep you interested. All right, now it's time to go deeper into the topic. The second part of the learning is the core, it's the knowledge. Here, you would normally hear an audio to gain the relevant knowledge, and all the points that are relevant for the trainings will be covered. At the same time, we activate you and when bringing in your sustainability goals and activities you do within your company. And we ask you about this, for example, with interactive graphics. So we keep you activated and focused on the training. And of course, the last part of the knowledge stage is always about to test and reflect you on the knowledge that you just have gained. We do it, for example, with quizzes and also, again, with multiple choice questions. All right, everything set up. Now we have the knowledge, we know the urgency of the topic, and now it is the last part of our training, the contextualization. And here it's all about giving feedback, for example, what you can improve within your company or within your department. Congratulations, you made it. You've done the training, you earned 750 points, and that is great. You positioned yourself here in the best place to earn a reward. And the reward is based on what you or your company will or what is willing to offer. But let's zoom out now a little bit to the company level again. What value do we add to you? First of all, we increase your employees and increase your overall employee engagement with sustainability. By providing knowledge to every employee, we actively engage everyone into the topic. Second, especially the topic of sustainability is important for the younger generation. And so we promise that we can, with our trainings, maintain and attract talents for your organization. And lastly, we increase your overall transparency. This means by providing the trainings and the knowledge that you have, the knowledge that we provide within the trainings to every employee, they are also able to talk to external stakeholders, and also therefore we increase the overall transparency of your company. And the potential on what makes us special, first of all, it's about individualization. We offer company customized trainings. We make the trainings relevant for every employee. Second, with microlearning, we acknowledge the constraints employees have, that they only have 24 minutes a whole work week to spend on learning and development. So therefore, we have short trainings. And lastly, with gamification, we use one of the most advanced teaching methods. We do it, for example, with interactions and the reward system. And as we looked on the market, we have seen that there's no solution that combines all relevant parameters. And again, I shortly emphasize that we have a clear focus on sustainability. We have customized trainings. We provide them in short training nuggets, and at the same time, we combine gamification method and also a tracking software. And the potential in the market is big. We aim at 3.8 million companies in total within Germany. And from those, we aim at those companies that are bigger than 500 employees, because here a CSR reporting is getting relevant. And for 2030, we aim at the market share of 10%. This is derived from the capacity of users that we will be able to serve until then. And we want to become profitable with a revenue model that's based on 3 pillars. The first one, because we customize the trainings and offer you different trainings, we have a little onboarding fee for that. Also, since education is a lifelong process and we provide you with plenty of trainings, we have a recurring annual license fee. And lastly, we want that you can stay flexible and decide how many users you want to have trained on sustainability each month. Therefore, we have a small monthly subscription fee. And to bring this to life, first of all, we want together to set up the infrastructure for a pilot project with you. Then start the pilot and also code the MVP. And lastly, at the end of November, we want to have a ready go-to-market product. And the team behind ResolVert are Florent, Verena, and me. And come on board and join us to transform your company from the inside out. Thank you very much.
Well done, Matthias. Thank you very much to your presentation. And as you can see, we have also for you 3 feedback givers. And we will have Anna again and Tina again, like for team Sustainacy. But new in the round, we have Maike from Kaufland. Welcome in the round. And maybe starting with you, Anna. What's your feedback to the team? Also, I think great progress, right?
Yeah, again, a great progress even since the last meeting that we had. Very interesting. We like the idea of learning nuggets that the company can choose whatever fits the company best. I also think that it's a great tool to engage all kind of employees, no matter if they're white collar or blue collar employees. And you also can engage them by giving feedback. And nearly every employee has something to say when it comes to sustainability. So I think the feedback sessions possibility is quite good, as well as a possible reward system. And no matter if the reward system is in spending some donations to an NGO or whatever, or to engage the families of the employees, I think there are great possibilities. And the only thing you really need to focus then the next couple of steps is how to link the tool to the company systems, or to employee system that they can use. And as you see with such a project, is that the transformation of each employee starts in everyone's own head. And I think this tool is really good to start the transformation by giving the employee the information that they need.
Thanks a lot, Anna. Tina, what's your feedback?
Yeah, it's very similar. I think it's no secret that we're super keen on educating our employees and our colleagues on sustainability, first of all, understanding what's it all about, and really getting such a complex topic into the organization on a broad level. But then also, of course, getting across what we do as a company so they feel confident and can talk about it as well. So I think it's a very good start. I like the user surface. I love the emotional hook of getting people into using it and, nudging them into going every step along the way. I think it can, tap into their interests very well. The challenge I see is that it needs to be a living tool, and I think it will be quite high maintenance to always keep it updated, to customize it to the company that you're serving, and also to continuously integrate what the company is doing on the sustainability side, because you have a lot of variables. You have the changing regulations and the changing topics maybe even, and then you have the changing level of delivery of the company against those targets. So I think it's not something that cannot be solved, and we're very happy to support you on squaring that equation. So I think it's a very deep and interesting journey, but it's one that we really want to crack. So yes, great progress, and I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Thanks a lot. Also great feedback again. And now last but not least, Maike, what's your feedback from the Kaufland perspective?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me as your feedback giver for today. So I want to emphasize that we had a lot of fun since the beginning of the first pitch until today, working with you and the team education. And I definitely have to emphasize that you really did a great development from the beginning until now. And this is what we have seen already. And to give you a personal feedback, I really, and we from Kaufland really appreciated that you have this special kind of curiosity. You always wanted to know exactly what our challenges are, and we recognize that this was always your focus. You want to help us, you want to give us a support in exactly the points we have. And we are pretty sure that you are going to develop a solution for companies which exactly fits to the company's issues or the company's needs. So please, and this is a personal thing I want to give you, please keep this freshness and keep this kind of curiosity always with you by producing a new solution or a new product. So therefore, we have no concerns, and we are absolutely convinced that you and your solution will lead to a great success in the future. So let's take a look at the claim, which is transformation, be sustainable. So we are absolutely convinced that you fit this claim with your product, because this product makes companies able to transform to be more sustainable in no matter which stadium they already are or already not are. But we believe that your product has the chance and the potential to get all the companies more sustainable and transformed. So we would love to stay in contact with you, and we wish you, of course, great success, and keep this with you, what you have.
Wow, that was great feedback as well. Thanks a lot, Maike. Matthias, you've heard 3 great feedbacks now, but there were also 2 suggestions to keep in mind. I remember this aspect of customization being maybe high maintenance, what Tina said, and also this aspect of how do we integrate that then into existing tools and systems that especially larger organizations have already within their portfolio. From Anna, what do you want to tell your 3 feedback givers here? Matthias, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for these kind words. It's really flattering me. And of course, we have seen this. There's a challenge actually in customizing, of course, and this is kind of the service that we offer because, as we have seen in the market, when you don't really customize your trainings, they will not really engage your employees, and therefore we want to tackle this challenge, and we'll find a solution to always stay updated with the company. And there we want to go this way, in the best case with you together, to find the solution how we can manage it, and also to see where this journey can lead us, because sustainability will never stop and it needs always to be adapted to the current circumstances. And therefore I will be happy when we can go this way together. And thank you so much again for your words and for your feedback.
All right, thank you very much from my side as well.
Thank you.
Coming to the next point, we will have team activation with us. Team activation called Mavue, and also Julius will be joining us today remotely with from home, presenting their solution. And Mavue is basically tackling this topic that we've had earlier in the panel discussion already. So I've heard that we need a little bit of time till we have the slides there. So maybe one question before you start in your pitch, Julius, because you have heard the panel discussion before. What's your take on this part of sustainable investing? Can you give us a quick info?
Yeah, sure, Johannes. I think actually impact investing and also ESG investing is kind of will become an indicator of the financial performance actually of a company. And then the only approach is to invest in like this impact and ESG companies. And if you don't impact invest, then you should basically implement ESG when your operations are not like an impact investment. So I think really I like what they said. I completely agree. Also, the regulations are coming, the pressure is coming from the customers. And yeah, the environmental and the social performance of the company will be an indicator how is the company and the startup actually doing.
Great, and let's see how you can help with this. I think you have, from my perspective, the right tool to do this. So over to you, Julius. All the best of luck for the final pitch. The last 10 minutes in the mission for you. And yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much. So hello together, and again, a warm welcome from us. It's a pleasure, and I'm really excited to present you our final pitch. So our vision is to make sure that every new company has sustainability as a starting point. And to achieve this vision, we want to make ESG and impact simple and accessible for everyone, including investors and startups. We want to make sure that our tool helps even a small business to be able to implement and report on ESG data. But why are we doing this now? Let me show you the ESG benefits. So a recent study from Carfi Capital shows that more than 90% of the venture capital say the importance of ESG will increase in the next 5 years. 75% believe including ESG will add both value to the investors and the companies, including the startups. And another study also shows that ESG investments will increase the financial performance. However, we face a problem. ESG is still not implemented and valued. So what are the current problems investors are facing right now when it comes to implementing ESG? First, the complicated reporting and communication process. So a recent study shows that 60% of VCs never discussed ESG with their portfolio companies. Second, the lack of ESG data and the lack of systematic framework. So ESG data is not available for more than 70% of companies, including some big corporates. And on the other side, we have the regulations. So the regulations on responsible investment policy actually doubled in the last 10 years, which indicates there's a real urgency to act now. So how can we solve exactly these three problems? We are developing a tool which can overcome the complicated reporting process with an easily accessible reporting and framework for startups to report the ESG data, where then investors can value the ESG performance. With our tool and by our assessments, any business can generate up to 250 ESG data points, which can overcome the lack of ESG data in the future. And finally, with our customizable platform, investors can easily align with the regulations like SFDR or the taxonomy. So we validated our first prototype with different user groups, including investors and startups. And let me show you two examples. So in the process with the investor, we received important insights right from the start. The important learnings were making it as simple as possible for both sides and as adaptable as possible. In the testing process with startups, we were able to continue to improve our ESG assessments after various feedback groups. And after this whole process, we got really nice feedback that we provide an easy and a guided structure and have a clear plan to focus on. So let me actually show you our tool with a short video on the investor's dashboard, a crucial part of the tool when the startups in the portfolio already did the assessment. So there you can see the investor's dashboard, where the investor can directly log in and is forwarded to the dashboard of Mustermann Capital. There you can see some basic financial data. And if you scroll down, you can see the overview of the material map and see where the portfolio is lacking. On the right side, you have the ESG rating divided in E, S, and G of the whole portfolio. If you go further down, you have a better overview of the portfolio ESG of the individual startups, also divided in the E, S, and G rating. There you have a good overview of the whole portfolio. And if you have more data and you want to get more insights, you can click on the portfolio. There you can see the whole portfolio the investor is actually invested in. You can see more data of the completion rates of the ESG assessment and the current status and the sector. And I already said to you that we tested this on startups. And I want to show you one example of the startup Retro. So here you can see the startup view, some business information at the top, and then again, the ESG rating divided in E, S, and G. We talked about risk, so there will also be a risk rating on the dashboard. There you can see also the material map. You can directly see where the startup is good at and where it's lacking, and the material topics and the status of this, like the carbon footprint. Down below, you can see the questionnaire summary and some risk ranking. And if you further want to deep dive in the ESG, you can also click on the environmental sector and have derived some more important KPIs. So for example, there will be the carbon emissions calculated, the environmental score and how it's basically derived, and the most important KPIs the startup should focus on. For example, emissions per employee, emission intensity, or the share of renewable energy. If we want to take a look at the social part, we can also see the most important KPIs, like the gender ratio, the social rating, the age structure of the startup, and the customer satisfaction. And last but not least, the governance part, where you can see the most important governance KPIs, board time dedicated sustainability, patents, the rating again, board diversity, or the R&D expenses. And now, if you want to an overview, you can download the sustainability report, which is derived with even more insights into the E, S, and G of the startup. So what is the potential of our tool? What market are we operating in? First of all, we're operating and addressing a very fast-growing market, which is the ESG services market. It has a global market value of more than 2 billion in 2020. With an annual growth rate of 18%, the total market is expected to reach more than 5 billion in 2025, in which our serviceable market for our products like ESG valuation and data research would be around 1.4 billion. And out of this total serviceable market, and if we now conservatively calculate that we only get 0.5% of this European market, we could already make a turnover of 7 million in 2025. So how are we doing this basically? We operate as a B2B software as a service provider with a focus on different customer groups. So first, we have the investor with the ESG tool, which I've shown you before, with features like policy regulations alignment, the ESG assessment, the risk analysis, and the reporting. For other target groups like enterprises and startups, we are developing different ESG solutions like ESG rating, data services, benchmarking the ESG data, and ESG certifications, which we develop with scientific institutions. And as we are operating in a very fast-growing market, there are already some competitors out there. But how can we differ from the others? So most of the tools exist out there are not really suitable for startups and SMEs. But with our tool, any small business can start the ESG journey. Second, our AI algorithm automatically collects, cleans, and validates the data and brings it together to the frameworks. And third, our methodology and the tool can be customized for the individual requirements and reporting in the dashboard and based on the international frameworks. So let me show you our next steps. At present, we are at the end of the Futury program. And again, from January, we will start focusing more on the product development, planning to go to the market by the second quarter of 2020. With many startups and investors in the long term, we want to develop a broad ESG database where startups and SMEs will be able to get real ESG certifications, offer different ESG solutions, and benchmark this with the market. And later, we want to develop our solutions even further use cases and roll out. Our goal is to become the biggest global ESG solutions and data platform of startups and SMEs. And we are the right people to bring this to life. On the one side, we have Suren, our CPO, responsible for the product and ESG, Donato Spodor, our CTO, responsible for development and the tech, and me, Julius, CEO, responsible for the business and sustainability. So therefore, I want to invite you to follow us along our journey. You can scan the barcode and you will redirect it to our contact information. For example, contact us to see more of the current demo. Thank you very much for the attention. Would especially like to thank all of those who have supported us over the last month. And if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you very much.
Well done, Julius. I think this is a great tool and adding exactly where we left off in the first panel discussion. So well done from my side. And we have 3 of your supporters in the feedback givers round. And we started with you, and now we will finish basically our today's event with you. So I want to welcome Maren, Michael, and Till again. There we have you again here with us. Great to see you. So starting with Maren, what's your feedback to the team?
Very well done, the pitch. A huge step ahead of the interim pitch, I have to say. A lot of features come to it. Very good. Very good presentation, I have to say. You have been very clear on now your strategy, on your offering. You have been point to the goal, which is important for the next steps if you go and get some funding. This is was very clearly transported. I think this your solution is of high relevance, as we mentioned that we will come towards more and more Article 9 funds. We will have the need to collect data from the portfolio companies. The companies have the need to get their absolutely need to get their ESG data set ready. I like the download function, so it makes it accessible to also combine your solutions with any upcoming reporting obligations towards the regulators. I really like that. On scalability, I think there's quite some way to go. That it's not only maybe a pure reporting tool, Make it a reporting and servicing tool, and for the benchmarking, it's data quality control is something that I would like to look deeper into, and also the data automation. So gathering data sets more automatic is something you should watch out, I think, because this could from an operational point be quite challenging. But it looks very easy, and I like the idea. I'm very happy to move the way along with you.
Great, thanks a lot, Maren. Very detailed feedback. I think there's a lot to take away from for you, Julius. But I'm more than sure that you will discuss more afterwards. Michael, you from the fund perspective, what's your feedback to Julius and the team?
A great presentation. It's the ideal tool to start with. As I told before, that we have to start somehow with ourselves and also with our portfolio companies. So I would like to take the tool and try to integrate it within our portfolio management, basically. So this is really great. At the beginning of the mission, I had the concern about methodology, metrics, etc. What I've seen so far and what I've heard from one of the startup companies you tried with, I think it's a very good basis, which of course has to be developed further, but I think it's a really good starting point. Thirdly, I think also 2 steps further, the ESG data base could be highly interesting for investors from an investing point of view. So the long-term strategy is in. As a result, we would be happy to accompany you in the journey in the next months. And for this reason, I think we are currently already in discussions how to set up together or that you set up and we assist you in setting up a startup company. So very well done. A lot of regards to the team.
Wow, very concrete here as well. So last but not least, Till, what's your feedback?
And first of all, congratulations to you, Julius. I think it was a great presentation. You showed really great commitment, I think, throughout the whole mission. And today it was a really great presentation to round that up. I think for the reporting side of the tool, I think you've made very clear today on how you want to do that. For us, or I think for consulting companies in general, the database would be super relevant. So I'm curious to see how you want to manage the data collection for that. But I'm sure you will find a way to do that in a very structured manner. And congratulations to you and your whole team.
Now over to you, Julius. What do you say to your 3 supporters?
First of all, thank you very much for the kind words. Very, very nice. The things you discussed about data quality, data collection, also the database. We will think about this. We will implement your feedback. We are in close discussions, and I really, really look forward to the future and the coming month to see what we can together develop.
Great, thanks a lot. And now, if no one has any further things to add, I want to thank you, all of you, again. I think this was also an exceptionally great team effort. I think you've worked all very closely together over the mission. So hopefully you can continue this in the future. All the best to you, and thank you, Julius, and the team for have presented the last pitch of today. Thanks a lot. And now I would like to take a look, after we've seen now 3 great pitches, and the mission is really fine. The mission transformation, be sustainable, is really finally coming to an end. But before we do this, we want to have a quick outlook, for example, on some of our other teams and what has happened so far from the other missions. We've heard also a little bit from Team Parcelo already in the Mission Summit out of the Mission 5 Mobility. Who we have here as well is a quick update from Team Goldfinch. You can see Marvin and Natalia here on the photo on the left side. Two of the founding team members, and they've actually been accepted at the HOLM, House of Logistics and Mobility Startup Förderprogramm, and also accepted at Explore TUM batch number 3. And they moved as in the past basically as the second group to the final round of the Hessen Idea Competition 2021. So all the best. Check them out on LinkedIn. You see the QR code here. I think they've made great progress and are continuing to do so. Another update, Team Optimo from the mission 4, Work Be Next. We've had Team Planko in the Mission Summit earlier before, where we heard an update from them. Another team out of this mission is Team Optimo, and Team Optimo is really focusing on upskilling blue-collar workers with respect to the Industry 4.0 requirements, and they are actually also officially funded GmbH now in October, and have started to test their first pilot with their first pilot customer, their MVP. And they're really starting to prepare for a pre-seed financing phase where they're looking for business angels and corporates to support them. So if you find this interesting, please check them out here on LinkedIn. It might actually be that this is the wrong LinkedIn QR code. So if you can't find them through this, just Google, look for them on LinkedIn directly. Optimo, you'll find them immediately. And they actually, I forgot that they actually included peer-to-peer learning trainings onto their platform. But if you look closer to them and what they actually do, you will understand more. Get in contact with them. I think also great progress here. So this mission is coming to an end. The Mission 7, Transformation Be Sustainable. It was a cross-cutting mission, and Charlie was mentioning in the Mission Summit event earlier already that we will redefine the mission and rebuild it a little bit from the next year on. And starting with this immediately in February 2022, so not a long break, only the winter break quickly, we will start with the mission Construction Be Solid in February, beginning of February. And there we will also maybe a call for action here. We are still also looking for additional corporate partners joining us for this construction mission, which will be led basically by Goldbeck. And then afterwards, we will have another mission in the summer of 2022 already, where we're in the process of building this. Waste Be Circular. This was actually our very first mission that we ever have and started with 2 years ago. And we will have another mission here where we are, another call for action here where we're really looking for teams, great ideas, and also, of course, corporate partners who want to participate and help move this forward. Looking now back, this was our program, the mission Transformation Be Sustainable, 3 months of, I think, really fun work, fun with the teams, fun with the corporate partners. Even we had to adjust to Corona situations and so on, but it was really, we were becoming some sort of the mission family, and we have another 9 talents and further corporate partners joining the mission family after this, and I'm really, really proud to have been able to lead this mission over the last 3 months. So as you can see, I think I've said in the beginning, we have done so many different things, problem statement definition, really coming to actual prototypes that we've seen today. Kudos to the teams. I think you've made a great job here, and also kudos to the And thank you very much to all the corporate partners. Again, I said this in the beginning, you make this also possible, that we can set up this program. I do not want to forget that to thank also my Futury team here, Julia especially, and Zita, who are in the machine room basically of the mission, organizing everything, supporting the teams, and also Bain & Company for their actual particular great support on the ground, always with their consultants. Anja, thank you a lot. I think also from the teams, you have supported us very well here, and you're also one of the factors why we have so great solutions in the end presented here today. Some last from my side. I think we are a little bit early, but I think you will get back these last 2 minutes and get earlier in the break. I want to please stay healthy. Please stay safe. I want to wish you over the winter days now, and especially Christmas and the holidays, all the best to you and your families. Again, stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully then we can see each other for the mission construction in the next year, February 2022. Thank you very much from my side. All the best.
Das war das Handelsblatt Studio.